If you're open to the idea of a living God, but you just haven't seen enough evidence to begin your journey of faith, this program is for you. In fact, this entire series will help you get on your way to finding God.
Greg Fritz Ministries wants to give you an ebook entitled Prepare to Meet Your Maker that accompanies this television series as our gift to you. To download the ebook version of this booklet for free, visit our website, gregfritz.org. Are you tired of hearing bad news? Tune into the good news of the gospel.
I love Greg.
I love the way he teaches faith and the way he teaches healing. It's phenomenal.
Greg Fritz has been changing lives through the good news of the gospel for over 35 years.
Because he delivers the Word of God with such warmth and balance and great clarity.
This good news will inspire, inform, and change you so you can live daily in all the promises of God. Welcome to Good News with Greg Fritz.
Hello, I'm Greg Fritz. Welcome to the Good News program. We're going to continue our teaching on finding God, and we're giving you evidence right now in this section of the teaching on nature. And we're looking at nature and living organisms and seeing the complexity of living things and how it also points us to the existence of God. Nothing is going to prove that God exists. You're not going to see Him in a physical form, but by looking at what He's done, we get a glimpse into His character and into His personality and His traits. The Bible says in Romans 1:20 that His invisible attributes are clearly seen by the things which He made. And so we're taking a closer look, and really it doesn't matter if you look at the big picture, which includes space and outer space, the universe, or if you look at microbiology and look through a microscope, you see the attributes of God everywhere you look. And so we're going to continue this discovery process, because I want to give people who are open-minded enough evidence to believe that there really is a God. And so they don't have to live in darkness or ignorance of that. There really is, that Christians, people who believe in God, are not crazy. We're not against education or science. We're not narrow-minded and small thinkers. We don't use religion as a crutch to get through life. But we truly embrace God, the idea of God, the person of God, and it's changed our lives. It's the greatest discovery you could ever have. So we've put the study notes together for this entire series. Please go to the website and look for the study note tab and look for Finding God and download your copy, or call our helpline and we'll just mail you a copy of study notes free of charge. And then we have the entire series, all 20 episodes. If you're not able to watch them as they are originally released, you can get them in this USB bundle for $30. We have put together the 20 episodes in audio and video. We've included the study notes, and we've included this book, Prepare to Meet Your Maker, in ebook form. It's all on that USB. It's quite a value. But what's more is it takes someone from wherever they are to, whether, even if they don't believe in God, it gives them a reason to begin this journey. We show them how to seek God and what to do when you find God. And that it could be a life-changing experience for someone. And so if you're watching, you say, hey, I know someone that could use this. You know, I believe in God, but I think there's people in my life that really would benefit from this. We'll get the USB and send it to them. Say, here, listen to this or watch this when you get a chance. And we made it really colorful. I want to make it attractive to people. And we called it Finding God because I just believe that there are people out there that are hungry. They're searching. They're open to the idea of God. And they may have never been open to that before, but now they are. And so we just want to give them a reason to believe that there is a God. Science and education are not an excuse to reject the existence of God. There's more than enough proof that God is real for those who choose to take an honest look. And in this series, we look at an abundance of evidence from inside the Bible and beyond in the areas of science, space, and nature which point to God's existence. So if you or someone you know is interested in seeking the invisible God and learning exactly what to do when you find Him, then this series is for you. And we've been looking at nature and the problem that these atheists have in explaining the origin of life, living things, cells. We've already talked about the universe at large and non-living matter. But once you get this vast universe, how do we get from rocks and mud to trees and animals? How did that happen? Where did life on earth come from? What is the origin of life? And I read you the Bible version, and God created the trees and the herbs and the fruit, and then He created the beasts of the field, the cattle, and all the things that creep on the earth, and He created all the sea creatures and the fish in the sea and the oceans. And so we see the biblical account of that. However, these Darwinists, these atheists, want us to believe that somehow non-living matter at some point in history converted into living cells. And they say it was a simple, they call it a primitive amoeba, a single cell. And I don't know why they started with amoeba, why they picking on amoeba, but they are. And what we've seen is that even the most primitive, simple amoeba is extremely complex just by virtue of DNA. And DNA is a genetic code that is within every living cell. It's not in non-living material, but it's in every living cell, even an amoeba. And the information in the nucleus of a single cell amoeba, just in the nucleus, is enough to fill up 30 volumes of encyclopedias. Isn't that crazy? And then if you take the entirety, and this comes from the book that we're referencing, I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, the entirety, the entire amoeba has as much information in its DNA as 1,000 complete sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica. This was admitted by Richard Dawkins, who is a famous atheist and Darwinist. He wrote a book called The Blind Watchmaker in 1987, and he's the one that admitted how much information is contained in one amoeba. And yet, they still believe, or want us to believe, that this just spontaneously happened, that life emerged from non-living material for no reason, accidentally, with no oversight. Francis Crick, he's the co-discoverer of DNA, and he is a Darwinist. He agreed with Dawkins about the appearance of design. He said the appearance of design, when he saw the DNA, it's like a language, and it's a very lengthy message in one amoeba. 1,000 sets of encyclopedias is a lot of information, and it's all contained in one amoeba. And he said this, he said, the appearance is so clear that he warns that biologists must constantly keep in mind that what they see was not designed, but rather evolved. He's just saying, you're going to see some things that amaze you, but remember that no one did this. You have to, why do you have to remind yourself that no one did it? Because creation is screaming at us that someone did this. God did this. God is behind this. Why is that so hard for some people to accept? I just don't see the reluctance. I don't understand the reluctance. I don't see the obstacle. It makes so much sense to say that God did this, that God's responsible for this. That brings meaning to life. It takes the pressure off of us as individuals and humans. We're not responsible for all this. We didn't ask to be born, to be created, but God did it. And I'm thankful that He did. And, God feels the same way. Here's what He said in Romans 1:20. He said, since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes are clearly seen. So he's telling this guy, Francis Crick, he's saying, look, man, you're looking at what I did and you're seeing evidence of my existence. They're clearly seeing being understood by the things that are made. This language of DNA. Do you realize it takes 1,000 sets of encyclopedias just to program one simple amoeba? Think about what it takes to program you. How much DNA exists in your cells, in your body. It's beyond our imagination. And they want us to think that that just happened? So this guy that says constantly keep in mind that what we see was not designed, but it evolved. He doesn't want us to give up on this idea of evolution by chance, accident. God said His invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. And that's speaking right to this particular scientist, saying after all you've seen the handiwork of God, you've seen the very fingerprint of God on a living cell, and you refuse to acknowledge His existence, you're without excuse. And, I'm more concerned about people like this than they are about themselves. That's a dangerous way to live. And I know there is a God. I know that God exists. And I know that this man and everyone who follows his teaching and refuses to believe in the existence of God is going to stand before God without excuse. And that motivates me. It motivated me to do this study, and I spent months putting this material together. Not for me. I don't need to see another fact. I don't need to see another miracle to believe in God. I don't need to see another rainbow or another act of mercy. I don't need it. I believe in God with all my heart. I believe the Bible is His Word. But there are people out there that are in desperate need of something to trigger them, to get their attention, to move the needle in favor of God. And hopefully this series will help some people. Some people, they just live in a bubble. They live in their own little world. And I want to break through and say, hey, look around you. This was not an accident. Someone was responsible for doing this. He was a genius. He was a creator. He did things that are beyond our imagination. He's the one you need to seek and find. He's the one you need to thank for your very existence. And I want to make this clear. These are God's words. The people who see the attributes of God and refuse to accept His existence, are without excuse. So, as far as God is concerned, and He's the ultimate authority, He's saying, you as a human being with intellect, with a mind, with the ability to reason, when you look around you in this world, you ought to be able to, without any help, come to this conclusion. There's got to be a God. That's all He's asking here. There are other things to do beyond that, but He's saying this, that you can't deny the existence of God with all the evidence around you. So I don't believe that's too high a bar. I don't believe that's too hard for anyone to do. Certainly there are people that haven't done it, but it's their own choice. It's not because they had no other choice or there wasn't evidence, because there is. Man, this gives it away. When this scientist says, this biologist says to his colleagues, constantly remember, guys, this was not designed, it evolved. This was an accident, it wasn't on purpose. No one did this. There's no one behind the veil. This is all, that's just like a cursing God to His face. And they're without excuse. I pray, God, that people like that will wake up and be reasonable and begin to seek God, because, that's half the battle, is just believing that God is. You can't find God if you don't believe He is. But once you take that step, the rest of it's easy. He's not hard to find. Let me read this quote from, again, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. It says, the evidence is so strong for intelligence against naturalism, that means intelligent design, the existence of God, that prominent evolutionists have actually suggested that aliens deposited the first life here. I mean, they'd rather believe in aliens than God. What is wrong with these people? They'd rather believe that an alien, a green little Martian, deposited life on Earth, and that's where we all came from. Oh, okay, that's a lot easier to believe. And let's just go ahead and believe in the Easter Bunny, and you know, Captain Hook, and who is that? Peter Pan. Let's just believe in Peter Pan. Let's fly. It's just crazy. And these people are educated. They believe aliens deposited first life here. Evolutionist Fred Hoyle, the same evolutionist that popularized the steady state theory, invented this far out theory called panspermia. It means seeds everywhere. He did this because he calculated that the probability of life arising by spontaneous generation, which we've discussed, is effectively zero. Well, at least he was honest enough to say there is no way that mud turned into living cells. So he jumps to this conclusion: aliens did it. It had to be aliens. That's what it was. Now, the problem with this is, who created the aliens? We're back to square one. Who made the aliens? Did they just appear on another planet out of another pond in ancient history? I mean, here's my conclusion. If I'd had 150 years to come up with another solution, another scenario where God didn't create everything, maybe not, but I think I could have done a better job than this. There's got to be some way to explain it that makes more sense than what these people are coming up with. It's just so flimsy. And the purpose of us looking at these things is really twofold. It is to give you, if you're an honest seeker, if you want reasons to believe, the main reason is nothing else makes any sense. You want to live your whole life and believe that nothing created everything for no reason? How does that work? How could that even happen? And so we want to give you a reason to believe in God. But number two, I want people who believe in God not to feel marginalized, not to feel like you're the idiot or looked at as the idiot, the shallow thinker, the uneducated, unsophisticated. You just believe in God. It's mythology. No, it makes more sense than what they're saying. Now, as I said, science doesn't have a problem. Real science, honest science, scientific discoveries agree with the Bible, and the Bible agrees with science. The Bible disagrees with atheism. The Bible disagrees with that premise that everything happened accidentally, and it should. I saw a scientist. I was watching TV in Africa many years ago, and it was an English station, so I watched it, and it was a scientist being interviewed, and they were talking about the origin of life, and I found it fascinating. So I watched, and they were asking the scientist, well, how did life begin? And so this scientist said, well, one of they didn't say they didn't just choose one, they just gave a couple of scenarios where life could have come from. And so the first one was that living cells emerged from cracks deep in the ocean floor, where this mineral water is coming out of the earth into the ocean. These hot mineral wells are spewing up rich mineral water, and that living cell somehow formed in that mineral water deep within the earth. Like, so for why? How? But that was literally the example they gave, and said, and because it was in the mineral-rich water, it was able to feed on the minerals and grow and develop and evolve, and finally, billions of years later, here we are. And I mean, okay, you know, you can go all over the world and find living things, the highest mountain, the lowest, valleys, The only place where life doesn't exist is below the crust of the earth, deep within the earth. Nothing lives down there, and yet they want us to believe that the first living cells came from there and developed. So that's one scenario. The other was even more preposterous. It was that an asteroid, that these living cells could have existed in an asteroid that traveled through space and came into the Earth atmosphere and broke apart when it hit the Earth's surface, and those living cells spilled out, and lo and behold, they found a habitat that was supportive of life, and they began to evolve, and then they turned into everything that we see and know. Okay, where did the life come from that got in the asteroid, and how did it survive that journey through space, and then how did it survive the crash, and how did it survive? You know, you could take an egg, which really is a living cell, it really is a living thing, it's got actual living cells in it, and you could take it onto the Earth's surface and crack it, and nothing would happen. It would just rot. It wouldn't even an egg. We'll give you like a 100-mile head start. Here's an egg. Crash that on the Earth's surface and see what happens. Well, you know, the conditions had to be just right. Yeah, I'm telling you, this, you know, the second reason we're teaching this that I didn't get to is this. It helps us understand that when we say, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, it's not as crazy as what they want us to think it is, because it literally helps make science make sense. It brings meaning to the existence of life in the universe like nothing else does. So when you say that, you shouldn't feel like you're marginalized. You shouldn't feel like you're an uneducated idiot and you're too weak-minded and uneducated to know better than to believe in God. No, there are a lot of scientists. We saw in this book there was 40% of the scientists are believers. So you don't have to be an atheist to be a scientist. Education and intelligence doesn't have to rule out the existence of God in your brain. Not that I'm speaking to people in that category, but I'm saying we don't have to feel like we're so, behind the times, archaic, old-fashioned, traditional, because we believe in God. It still makes more sense than anything they've come up with. Here's another person that believes in the panspermia belief, which is that aliens deposited seeds. I believe it's her, Chandra, and I can't even say the name, Wickrams, it's Wickramasinghe, and I know that's right because I copied and pasted. I didn't reprint it. So however you say that, it's a Darwinist. He says this: the emergence of life from the primordial soup on Earth is merely an article of faith that scientists are finding difficult to shed. There is no experimental evidence to support this at the present time. Indeed, all attempts to create life from non-life, starting from Pasteur, have been unsuccessful. And I explained to you, Louis Pasteur is the one that did away with this theory of spontaneous generation by doing the experiment with rotten foods. They thought at the time that rotten foods, a non-living material, produced living organisms, because every time they had food out, that it turned into maggots, and they thought, aha, there it is. Non-living material has just jumped over into a living organism. Well, Pasteur took two bowls of rotten food, whatever the specimen was. One he left out in the air, the other he covered and made it airtight. And of course, the one that was out in the open air produced maggots and the other one didn't. And they realized that if you cut it off from the outside world, non-living matter doesn't produce anything. That what had happened was flies had come in and laid eggs on the rotten food, and it turned and they hatched and became maggots. And it helped them determine this law of biogenesis, which says life begets life. So for non-living material to beget life goes against that law of biogenesis, which they discovered. I didn't. They did. That's a law of science. It goes against the laws of science for non-living material to accidentally turn into living cells. So, it's really, I think what we're discovering is a segment of people, highly educated people, experts, that are totally opposed to the idea of God. And what that's done to society is really horrific. And that's my motivation. When they took God out of society, evil entered. When you remove light, darkness is the result. And we are dealing with a couple of generations of people who've been told there's no God. We can turn this around, but we've got to begin to speak out. And we can't feel like if we're going to speak out about this that we're going to, that we're idiots, that we've left reason and education and science behind to promote the idea of God, because you don't have to do that. We are totally in favor of science, technology, education, advancement in every area. But at the same time, I believe that God is the author, the creator, the originator of life, that all these things that we see around us came from God. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And if you believe that, man, you have got a great head start on finding God if you haven't found Him yet. Call our helpline. If you're in that valley of decision and you want some counsel, call our helpline and talk to our counselors about this very issue. They'll be happy to talk to you and pray with you. If you haven't ever supported this program, and maybe you've thought, you know what, I'd like to help them. Well, thinking you'd like to help and actually helping is two different things. And I appreciate our audience, all of you, and I wouldn't be doing this without you. And I want to make this free. It is free to everyone. But in order to do it, I need partners. I need help. So if you'd like to partner with this ministry, call our helpline or use one of the methods to give on the screen. If you give by text or by QR code, you can, during that process, hit recurring giving and set your giving at $50 or $100 a month or more, and it'll just automatically give every month. We'll see that, and then we will respond to you and give you your partner package and put you on our partners list. Pray about it. I cannot do this by myself, and it's just, but I'm able to reach so many more people like this than traveling in person. I still travel all the time as much as I can wherever the doors open. But man, this program, this Good News program, has helped me reach so many thousands of people, and we want to continue to expand. So in order to do that, we need people like you to get involved. Call us. We'd love to hear from you today. Till next time, remember this: the good news is so good, the bad news doesn't matter.
I love Greg Fritz's ministry. I love the way he teaches faith and the way he teaches healing. It's phenomenal.
To me, when Greg teaches, he ministers to the heart.
From seeing him on TV and then seeing him in person, he's real, he's honest.
Are you tired of hearing bad news? Partner with us to tell the world about the good news of Jesus Christ. Learn more at gregfritz.org.